Good morning and welcome to your Stylo News Intelligence Update. In this briefing, we're taking a look at the key strategic movements across East Asia from the last 2 weeks.
Before we dive in, a quick word about our sponsor. This update is brought to you by the folks at ProWave AI. They're the minds behind the AI-powered intelligence platform, Stylo IntelOps, and of course, its commercial version, Stylo News.
And actually, speaking of ProWave AI, they're celebrating their 1-year anniversary with a special offer for our viewers. You can get a discount on Stylo News by using the code STYLO. That's STYLO over at stylonews.com. Just a heads up, the offer is valid through the end of March, and it's limited to the first 250 subscribers.
All right, let's get right into it. Our overall assessment. We're looking at a region that is most certainly feeling the pressure.
So, what's the bottom line? Well, after analyzing all the recent activity, our central assessment is this. China is postured for sustained coercion, not for an immediate, decisive war. And that idea, that theme of constant pressure, is really the key to understanding everything else we're about to discuss.
Okay, so when we look at the map, you can see the activity is really concentrated in two main areas. We have the waters around Taiwan, and then we have these various friction points throughout the South China Sea. We're going to break down each one for you.
First up, let's zoom in on the Taiwan Strait. What we're seeing here is a relentless campaign of attrition, a steady, constant drumbeat of military and political pressure.
And just to give you a sense of what that pressure looks like, 16. That's the number. On March 15th alone, Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense tracked 16 Chinese military aircraft entering its air defense identification zone. And this wasn't just a one-off event. It's part of a much larger, sustained pattern.
Now, these daily incursions are what analysts call gray zone tactics. You can think of it as a way to push the envelope without actually starting a fight. It's all about testing responses, wearing down military readiness, and, making a heavy military presence near Taiwan seem normal. The real power behind it is the sheer day-in, day-out consistency of it all.
Okay, let's shift our focus to the second major theater, the South China Sea. The dynamic here is a bit different. It's less about that slow grind of attrition and more about a direct assertion of maritime and administrative control.
And when you look at where this friction is happening, two names keep popping up: Scarborough Shoal and Sabina Shoal. These are major flashpoints involving the Philippines, and it's important to remember, both of these are squarely within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone.
The methods being used are becoming more and more confrontational. We're talking about Chinese vessels confronting groups of Philippine fishermen, reports of a naval ship locking its fire control radar onto a Philippine frigate, a very serious move, and warnings to expel Philippine aircraft from the airspace. These aren't just minor scuffles, they're very concrete examples of an escalating, coercive presence.
So, how does everyone involved see this? Well, as you might expect, the perspectives are quite different. From Beijing's point of view, these actions are a legitimate defense of its sovereignty. The Philippines, on the other hand, rejects those claims entirely, citing international law. And then you have the United States, which voices support for its allies and for the core principle of freedom of navigation.
Now, of course, this sustained pressure isn't happening in a vacuum. You push, and something inevitably pushes back. Across the region, we're seeing nations and their allies making some very active countermoves, both militarily and diplomatically.
And things are moving quickly. In just the past few weeks, the Philippines deployed its new BrahMos anti-ship missile system. Japan is accelerating its own significant military expansion. And right now, the largest ever joint military exercises between the U.S., the Philippines, and Japan are underway. Each one of these is a significant strategic development.
It's not all military posturing, though. A lot is happening on the diplomatic front, too, and it's sort of moving on two parallel tracks. On one side, you have the Philippines leading an effort within ASEAN to create a legally binding code of conduct for the South China Sea, basically trying to establish some rules of the road. On the other track, you have China engaging in direct security dialogues with European partners like the EU and NATO to discuss these broader global issues.
So, with all that said, where does this leave us? Let's conclude by looking ahead at the most likely developments you'll want to monitor in the near term. The essential question really is, as this whole situation continues to evolve, what are the key things that we should all be watching for?
Our analysis points to 4 key areas. First, don't expect that gray zone military pressure to let up. Second, keep an eye on diplomacy. There are high-level talks scheduled between the U.S. and China, and their outcome will be important. Third, those negotiations for a South China Sea Code of Conduct are a critical effort to watch.
And finally, monitor the Allied military posture, especially those joint exercises and any U.S. naval movements. So this has been the top-line summary. But if you want the full, in-depth analysis and our forecast, we've got a longer explainer ready for you. It's titled Mapping China's Military and Political Strategy.
You can find the Stylo News Intel update on your favorite podcast platform, or you can just follow the link that accompanies this post.
Thank you for joining us this morning. To get AI-powered news on demand, you can subscribe to Stylo News at stylonews.com. We'll continue to monitor these developments. Stay informed.